And welcome to this information session on the English Mastery Research Trial. It's great to see you all this afternoon. My name is Evie Newbold and I'm the Head of School Development at Art Curriculum Plus. Please do ask as many questions as you like by using the chat function on your screen. I'm joined by my colleague Nathan, who will be fielding questions as we go, but anything that's unanswered or anything we need to spend a little bit more time on, we'll dedicate some time to the end on questions and answers. So this is what the agenda will look like for the session. So first I'll be talking to you about the English Mastery programme, the kind of curriculum principles. It's been running for 9 years now, so it's become a really developed programme, and we have lots of impact studies that can show how successful the programme is, which I will talk to you about in the second part of the presentation. And then finally, I'll be giving more details about the trial itself, how you can get involved, what it entails, and any further information that you might need. So I'll start by talking about the English Mastery programme. It was launched primarily for ARC schools in 2014, and it's a curriculum and teacher development programme. We currently work with over 200 schools in the country, and that's an expanding number. And there was actually already an EF trial that was launched in 2019 as a random control trial, but it was compromised because of COVID. We weren't able to do the standardised testing in schools, obviously because of the pandemic, and that's why the trial has been relaunched, and that's what you can get involved in. The full report for the original trial is available online, and there's some really favourable findings that I will also share some of those with you later on. So you can see from the map the reach. We work with schools all over the UK. That we have schools in Northern Ireland, in the Channel Islands, in Scotland. It's just one of the programmes that Art Curriculum Plus programmes cater to. We have science and maths as well, and we work very, very closely still within ARC schools, who are one of the highest performing multi-academy trusts in the UK. So this is our mission: to empower teachers to give every young person, regardless of their background, the subject knowledge and skills that will allow us to succeed. So really, children and young people are at the centre of what we do, and we really feel like it's through empowering the teachers that then allows them to reach the students in that capacity. So just like you, these are a team of research-informed curriculum designers and expert trainers who really want success in English for all Key Stage 3 students, regardless of their starting place. So we started really as a result of an audit of Key Stage 3 curricula. So it became known as the wasted years from Ofsted reports, and it was found that, as I'm sure you'll be aware, that so much teacher time goes towards the exam classes in Key Stage 4 and 5 that sometimes Key Stage 3 does get left behind, and often curriculum planning is divided up. It could be quite disjointed. It might be delegated to less experienced teachers. And we were seeing in ARC schools that there was a real need for there to be more coherence within the curriculum. And we were also seeing a void of clarity in terms of the progression, but also having a nice diverse range of representation in the curriculum. And that was the gap that we were looking to fill. So here are some further needs that we wanted to address. The burden of planning time for teachers. Workload is mammoth. Planning as itself is a full-time job, let alone the actual teaching and assessment and everything else that comes around with teaching. So we wanted to support teachers with reducing the duplication and bureaucracy of that process. And we really found that from research that teachers were spending more than 8 hours a week on lesson planning that really could be shared across teams, and that's what we were trying to help with. So you can see that's how the English Mastery curriculum was developed, and is founded on kind of key research. We were lucky to have Daisy Christodoulou within the ARC curriculum network, who was leading on the research, particularly around assessment, as well as other names that we built upon. And the pillars are the foundation of all of the different strands of English mastery. So it's a knowledge-rich curriculum, and that's really central to our approach. We also have discrete grammar teaching. We like to have a kind of building that vocabulary so that students have a really secure range. And then we also have a specific approach to assessment that underpins our curriculum as well. So as you can see, they cut through all parts of the curriculum, and this is how our curriculum kind of maps together. So we provide comprehensive lesson guidance and resources, PowerPoints for every lesson, as well as teacher notes and knowledge organisers. We also offer training and development for teachers. So we have, as I'll go through in more detail later, but we have online CPD that can be accessed on demand as well as live. We have in-person induction training as well. So we'll meet teams, we get whole teams together to get people on a really good starting point. We also provide assessment materials for regular low stakes testing as well as termly summative assessments. So you're able to benchmark your students' achievement against other schools and the English Mastery programme. And all of that links together to what you know as English Mastery. So these are our separate curriculum strands. You have literary heritage, which actually comprises of around 50% of the Key Stage 3 curriculum. So these are classic texts and much loved stories, and they really do underpin the curriculum, and we want students to really have the depth over breadth understanding of these, and we spend a long time making sure that they've got a great understanding of the plot, of the characters, of the themes and the context involved, and have a really secure knowledge of those texts. So, and then we have writing mastery, which roughly comprises around 1/3 of the curriculum, and that's discrete grammar teaching that students study concurrently to literary heritage, so separate lessons that run alongside the literary heritage lessons to really develop that secure writing skills. And then finally, we have our reading for pleasure strand, which is often used as a library lesson or a kind of tutor group reading. And that really allows teachers to explore a range of diverse texts and make sure that students have that love of reading fostered in those Key Stage 3 teaching. So it was originally designed as a 6-hour curriculum, so 3 hours of literary heritage, 2 hours of writing mastery and reading for pleasure, but it's now adapted for schools that deliver 3 hours or 4 hours of English at Key Stage 3. So this is very small, and I've zoomed in on the next slide, so don't strain your eyes in trying to read it, but this is our curriculum map. So you can see how the 3 years are split. You can see how the different strands fit together and across each year group, and for literary heritage specifically. We also have in this map, it clearly illustrates how the vocabulary terms that students learn from each unit, as well as the writing approaches, and how creative writing also fits into each unit. So you can see how everything has been really carefully designed into a coherent curriculum. This is just a zoom in on one of the texts, the first unit for literary heritage, which is Oliver Twist. And as you can see, the key knowledge they learn is about life in Victorian London. They learn about morality, the key themes, the most important characters, and then you can see some of the vocabulary they learn, the word vulnerable, morality, and they learn a lot about characterization in that first unit that really comes up in the assessments and is revisited every year as they go through the programme. So this illustrates how the Key Stage 3 curriculum sets students up for Key Stage 4. So we've got Victorian literature, which features heavily in the exam text as well. And you can see how learning about Oliver Twist, where they learn about the city, the context of London, characterization, would prepare them for some of the most popular texts in 10 and 11, Jekyll and Hyde, A Christmas Carol, another Dickens text, as well as Frankenstein. And you can see how some of those themes are setting them up for success at Key Stage 4. So we don't just look at those first 3 years, we look at how they're studying once they finish Key Stage 3 as well. So here's an example of one of our do nows from a year 9 lesson on Jane Eyre. And again, this illustrates how we interleave the learning so that students are constantly revisiting texts that they've studied already. So they're asked to look at the concept of the hero. They're asked to draw on their knowledge of Caliban, as well as Oliver Twist, and it's regularly revisited, so really carefully constructed in a way that repeats the learning, that cements the learning into full-time long-term memory. And we have these at the beginning of every lesson, so students are familiar with the do now setup. So I'm now going to talk you through some ways that we show that we can develop skills across the 3 years of Key Stage 3. So this is actually a snapshot of an assessment from a year 9 student that we've used in one of our assessment sessions. And even though it's from a year 9 student, it really illustrates the skills and knowledge that the student has gained throughout their 3-year journey. So in the green highlighting at the moment, this is what they learn in year 7 that the students brought in that year 9 assessment. So they use topic sentences, they learn how to use evidence correctly. They have some of the key themes in the novel around orphans and morality that commonly come up in Victorian texts. So you can see that they also have learnt about context in the Victorian era that the students bring into their year 9 assessment. And then in year 8, that's when they learn to link analytical paragraphs together, so more challenging skills. They're using topic sentences to link analysis now, embedding quotation, so again taking that step further, and continuing to develop their understanding of Victorian texts, themes and contexts that go within that. As you can see, they're starting to learn some of the skills that you really want to see at Key Stage 4 with the balanced argument and connectives. So, and then finally in year 9, that student is demonstrating the skills they've developed even more, so more challenging, building evidence to form a strong thesis, more complicated grammatical skills, continuing to develop their understanding of morality and some of the more theological approaches in some of the Victorian texts, and Victorian attitudes. So that's quite a nice illustration of how we carefully construct the curriculum to build up their knowledge and skills over time. So what we're particularly proud of with our programme, yes, we have comprehensive resources, but we also have a school development team to really guide you through your stages of implementation. So it's a challenging time. Bring in a new curriculum to your school, even one that's really comprehensively written. And so we believe that schools are most successful when they have a mentor to develop them, to take them through those different stages of the process. So we offer 2 school visits per year so that the school development lead can go in and help work with you and your team, look at some lessons, see how you're using the resources, and then also we do some remote sessions as well, so it doesn't have to all be in school. It can be online training for your team, as well as working closely with your lead, your mastery lead in school, to make sure that they're really supported well in implementing the programme. We also do live induction training before you start for the whole team, so that you're really well equipped and excited about taking on the new curriculum. We also have our own platform where we have on-demand training that teachers can dip in and out of and re-watch at any time, to really support with the pedagogy and subject knowledge training for the materials. So I've talked to you a bit about the English programme. I hope you are asking questions in the chat, and like I said, I can return to them at the end if needed. And I'm going to just talk to you a little bit about the impact that we've been shown to have in our schools. So a really early study on the pilot schools, the first schools that went through the programme, we had an independent research body, the Brilliant Club, who found that the ARC schools that were part of the pilot made on average 4 months more progress compared to those that weren't on the pilot. So a really, really exciting impact study there. And then, like I said, this was the trial that we couldn't quite kind of get over the line because of COVID, which obviously impacted so much. But we still do have some really nice data from the teachers that have allowed us to really kind of be excited about the impact that we're having on teachers and on pupil progress. These were in the form of extensive interviews and surveys, and I can share some of the data here. So here are the percentage of teachers that felt that English mastery improved grammar skills. As you can see, 74%. 63% of teachers felt it improved students' reading skills, 68% writing skills, and then 75% felt that English mastery improved the overall progress of students. And this, obviously, in the new trial is what we'll be testing with the standardised tests in school. So we hope that they match, and we're confident that they would match what you're seeing here. And here's a quote from one of the interviews from one of the teachers, which I'll let you read to yourself. We also have some data on teachers' opinions of the curriculum. As you can see, the literary heritage strand in particular, teachers really liked, but also very favourable opinions on the writing mastery strand. And here's a quote about subject knowledge from a teacher. We feel really proud that our curriculum really supports teachers from a range of different experience. As you know, with English, you can have taught a text hundreds of times and you're still learning something, you know, any extra year that you teach it. But we really do support early career teachers as well, because they've got such consistent resources that we use throughout, and that specialist that works alongside them. So we're very proud that 81% of the teachers in that original trial would recommend English mastery to another school, and even more are satisfied with the training and support that we offered alongside their implementation. And another quote. So we do, because we work with schools in all over the country, very different contexts, different ways of different school setups. Every school approaches it differently, as you can imagine. We do really take time to understand the school and their needs and their priorities, so that we can work with them to really get the most out of the programme. And as you saw, from an original need that we wanted to address was reducing teachers' need to plan and create resources. And we feel we succeeded on that, as based on that trial. All of our resources are editable. So if there are ways, so teachers can tweak, and that's the nice thing, is that the bulk of the resources are made for them, so there's something they can use. But if they want to stretch students particularly, or they want to support weaker students, for example, that they are able to do that. They can adjust it as needed. So even experienced teachers who want to teach it in a certain way, they can keep that sense of autonomy as well. Okay, and now finally I'm going to talk to you about the trial itself and how you can become involved. It's a really exciting 2-year trial, and we know we've done it before, and we know how excited in schools get when they're kind of taking on this challenge of becoming part of this research. So the trial will assess the impact of a knowledge rich of this curriculum on pupil progress for the year 7 cohort. So we really track that the first year that starts into year 8 as well. and it's a random control trial. So it means that any school that joins in will be placed randomly into either the treatment group who receives the English Mastery programme and the control group who retains the same curriculum that they were teaching in the school. This is how the process works. So you apply for the trial and then you're assigned to one of the groups. And if you're in the control group, it's business as usual. You don't access English Mastery, and you submit data from your students throughout the 2-year trial, and you are paid for your contribution to the trial, and you receive £1,250 over the 2 years. If you are assigned the treatment group, that's when you do implement English Mastery. So you receive full access to the curriculum, including the online platform and the in-person support. And you implement English Mastery with at least year 7 in the first year, and that also goes into year 8 in the second year. So it's just that first that one cohort that you're teaching. And you pay a heavily subsidised fee. It's an absolute bargain of £900 per academic year, which is a fraction of the full price of the curriculum. And most schools are eligible to take part in the trial. It really requires schools to be a state school, non-selective, and to have a year 7 cohort in 2022 that goes into sorry, that should say 2023, that goes into year 8 in 2024. You can't have delivered English Mastery in the past, the art curriculum programme, because that would compromise the trial. And unfortunately, special schools cannot participate in the trial, but every other school is eligible and can apply. So now it's time for me to stop presenting, and you can ask any questions if you've not asked already about any particular area. I'll have a quick look at the chat as well and see if anything's come up. And please do scan the QR code that's presented, and it allows you to book in time to speak to someone in our team to talk more about it. Goodbye and have a nice evening.